On Friday, we talked about the CDC effectively acknowledging, hey, everything that Clay Travis has been saying for over a year is accurate. Everything we've been saying on the Clay and Buck show, everything I've been tweeting, everything I've been writing about the COVID shots is accurate. Well, the Moderna CEO said they've had 30 million doses most recently of their COVID shot that nobody wants, and that they've had to throw them in the garbage. This is a quote. You can go watch the video. He said this a couple of months ago. Says that they have a major demand problem and far too much supply for the COVID shot that people are overwhelmingly starting to reject. Why are they rejecting it? Because initially, we were all told last year that if you get the COVID shot, there will be, you will neither get nor spread COVID. Effectively, the COVID shot was going to end COVID. And then we started to talk with you last summer about the fact that in reality, as you started to look at all of the data, in reality, it didn't stop or prevent the spread of COVID. And remember, last year, you weren't even allowed to hardly talk about this. It was considered unacceptable to question the COVID shot in any degree at all, okay? But last year, we became aware that COVID shot didn't stop or prevent. Now we're up to 4 different shots. The initial 2 shots, now there are 2 COVID booster shots. The CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, I believe is how you pronounce his name, today came out and announced that he had tested positive for COVID. And I want to make sure that we enjoy the responses to what this Pfizer CEO has said. All right. CEO of Pfizer said, I would like to let you know I've tested positive for COVID. I am thankful to have received 4 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. I am feeling well while experiencing very mild symptoms. I am isolating and have started a course of Paxlovid. He then gets absolutely crushed, absolutely obliterated in the comments. First of all, he had to say the line, I got COVID, but thankfully I'm quadruple jabbed or it would have been far worse, right? Every single time that somebody tests positive for COVID, they come out and say, hey, I've got COVID, but thankfully I've gotten 4 different COVID shots now we're up to, so I feel fine. Maybe it's the 5th shot that will solve everything. There are so many great responses that are out there, but I'll read a few of them. This is, again, I mean, I give credit finally to Twitter for actually allowing people to say what they actually believe. The funniest one was a guy said, this is like the CEO of a condom company saying, my wife is pregnant, but thankfully I used condoms while we were having sex. And then somebody else said, yeah, 4 condoms. All of this is nonsensical. But what's starting to happen is finally people are becoming aware of how worthless these COVID shots are. And let me tell you something. The first case, I think you could see that people were rejecting them and finally starting to look at the data was in what happened with kids. And I said it for a long time. I had 2 kids in the 5 to 11 age range, and I have not allowed, I still do, I have not allowed either of those kids, to get the COVID shot because it's totally unnecessary. Both myself and my wife have had COVID, so probably my kids have had COVID. They haven't ever gotten sick or had fevers or anything substantial like that, so I've never gotten them COVID tested, but I feel confident that they likely have already had COVID. Certainly, the vast majority of parents, also of 5 to 11-year-olds, are not getting their kids the COVID shot. Only around 3% of parents of 6-month-old to 5-year-olds are getting them the COVID shot. Only 3%. Roughly 97% of all parents of 6-month to 5-year-olds are not getting them the COVID shot because they don't need it at all. Okay? So, what should happen here? I'm going to keep beating this drum if you're hearing this for the first time, you're going to hear it a bunch more times. Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, every one of these drug companies that we gave tens of billions of dollars to purchase their COVID shots and made them tens of billions of dollars in profit, they should have to give back all of that profit because they sold those COVID shots predicated on a fraudulent idea. It's like the lemon law, right? If you remember the lemon law for cars, if you buy a used car and you buy it under circumstances that later become clear were a lie, in other words, there are things wrong with the car, then you get your money back. And you can disgorge the fact that you ever purchased the car in the first place. And by the way, you can also pursue the sellers for fraud if you believe they've engaged in fraudulent behavior. Well, why in the world is Moderna destroying 30 million COVID shots that they can't get anyone in the world to take that you and me and all the American taxpayers paid for? And why are we allowing Moderna and Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson high-end employees to be buying multi-million-dollar mansions all over the place? There was a big article about it in Wall Street Journal. Moderna has so many employees in the Boston area that they have been buying up properties for tens of millions of dollars based on ill-gotten profit that they have made off government-mandated COVID shots. So what should happen, in my opinion, is every single dollar that those companies made should be refunded to the American taxpayer. Every profit, every bit of dollar profit, all right? And we should tell these drug companies one of two things. Either you give us back all of the profit that you made off of these COVID shots that don't work as you told us they did, or we're going to allow plaintiffs' attorneys to file lawsuits and do away with your protection from all lawsuits associated with COVID. That's option one. And then you can potentially get bankrupted based on all these plaintiffs' lawyers coming after you at Pfizer and at Moderna. Or you voluntarily give back all of your profit dollars to the United States government. And when that happens, if that were the choice, which I think it would if you really held their feet to the fire, when that happens, what we should do then is refund everybody who lost their jobs. They should get their jobs back and for refusing to get the COVID shot. And they should get back pay for all of the money that they lost as a result of that. In our military, in our private industry, anyone who lost their job over this COVID shot, there should be laws passed that this was not permissible, that they should get all of their jobs back, and that we should be able to pay them back. Certainly in our military and with any government employees, this is easy to do. Might be a little bit more complicated with private industry, but I believe we should repay everybody who got fired over the COVID shot. And we should hold Moderna and Pfizer and their CEOs responsible. And I think if I were in Congress right now, if I were in the Senate, if I were in the House, I would be talking about demanding that there be criminal investigations into Pfizer and Moderna and their CEOs to let us know when they became aware that these COVID shots were not working as they had claimed that they were, and whether they have fraudulently, criminally lied to the American public about the efficacy of their shots. I think that needs to happen. I think it needs to happen now.